Hello there, kia ora. Have you noticed a theme with all of the reporting on the Treaty Principles Bill? There is one common element in all of it, and it's there because of media's method of trying to create balance in reporting. But one of the side effects of this is what we call false consciousness. Now, false consciousness is actually an old Marxist term. It described workers who believed the disinformation that the powerful gave to them to their own detriment. Things like, well, if you work hard in this salt mine, then one day you'll be as successful as me, Lord Snooty Pants, who inherited these vast estates and factories from my wealthy family. I suppose the modern direct equivalent would be Twitter is absolutely a bastion of free speech now. Elon's in charge because he lets me say whatever harmful, racist, pro-fascist thing I want. From the people who have never had to use the word cisgender in their lives, but are happy to spread hate and disinformation that aligns with Elon's views. It's a borrowed term that we use in media theory to explain the risks of what many would consider balanced reporting. Having two people debate two sides of an issue. Now, media is somewhat constrained in that the ability to have 100 people debate one person is impossible to coordinate. Even in print, that would be really difficult to sort out. And to be seen as presenting balanced debate, it does make sense to have one person presenting their views from both sides of an issue. As an audience, it makes sense to see topics presented this way, but it creates a false equivalence. It puts too much weight on the side of an issue that isn't equivalent to the other. The best known example of this is how the US media deals with climate change conversations. They'll have one scientist and one climate change denier to hash out their points. But the reality is 99.9% of scientists have been found to agree that humans have an impact on climate change. But the one versus one format creates a false consciousness in viewers that basically both arguments hold equal weight. And what we're seeing in the reporting on the Coalition's Treaty Principles Bill, well, it's the same phenomenon in action. Every story is framed as someone is against it and David is for it. In fact, Seymour pushes back on criticisms has been this week's prevailing media narrative. But the reality is more like that climate debate. Yes, David is the face of the bill, as its driver and most vocal supporter. But those opposing him, well, because it might cause harm to our social cohesion, because it'll harm Māori, have issues with our constitutional elements within our government, those numbers far outweigh David and his bill's supporter base. The list of people and organisations that have criticised it are huge. There's over 1,000 prominent people, community leaders, experts, and organisations that have openly called for it to be dropped at some stage. Even if they're agreeing to proceed with the bill itself, National and New Zealand First have both levelled criticisms at it, along with Te Pāti Māori, the Greens and Labour. Their party leaders have also done so individually, but so too have 440 church leaders. These 350 different organisations from all over the country that include organisations that represent academics, historians, lawyers, as well as doctors and treaty experts. There's Amnesty International, the New Zealand Psychological Society, Rainbow Youth, and every union, except for the ones claiming to be for taxpayers and free speech. Independent media creators, the Waitangi Tribunal, the Ministry of Justice, a consortium of translators, iwi groups up and down the motu. Former Prime Ministers Geoffrey Palmer, Jim Bolger, Helen Clark, John Key and Bill English have all expressed concern. The number of experts and organisations that have spoken out about everything from the harm this bill has the potential to cause by even being tabled and sent to select committee through to the conservative price tag attached to it far outweigh the number of people who find the bill has any kind of benefit. But the constraints of media are limited. David Seymour wants his airtime, so will discuss it in media where he can, knowing that by both siding the argument, media is overrepresenting his perspective to combat the mountains of others who see it as problematic. If media want to make it a really representative argument, they'd have one pro interview with Seymour for every 1,000 guests against this bill.